So I know this guy, known him for a few years, who's really breaking my balls all the time. Every interaction I have with him, almost, I'd say 7 out of 10 interactions I have with him, breaking my balls. One of these Mr. Know-It-all, chip on their shoulder types. And the most criminal aspect about it is he's one of these kind of guys who doesn't get that's how he comes across. Very condescending, very know-it-all, very looking down upon me and got to teach me and got to show me the right way and how I'm wrong and he's right, and very pedantic, very he spends a lot of time online. I tend to reflect and gather by what I see, what I observe with this guy. And as I have observed him over time, there are things that he brings to the table. There are aspects of his character that, to me, defy logic, to me, defy normalcy, I guess, for lack of a better term. You know, I won't go into the specifics because if he sees this video, I'm not going to call him out by name or anything. I'm not going to give away too much information that he might know it's him that I'm talking about. But let's say there's one big chunk of something that we do not agree on. And very passionately do we not agree on it, and very passionately have we had debates about it, and neither one of us can see the other person's point of view on it. It's there, it's a giant rock, it's not going anywhere in his case, and for me, it's tantamount to insanity, and we'll leave it there. So this is one large facet of this guy's life, of his outlook, that I just simply do not agree with. And in, a couple of years or however long I've known this guy of observation, there's a clear-cut disconnect between that super sumo-sized big thing, that huge thing that is so much the ethos of his life, with other things that, are in his sphere of interest. But that, to me, as an outsider looking in to his world, so to speak, they chiefly all seem to be points of conflict with that big thing. It's like a smack upside the head with a 2x4. It doesn't make sense to me. How he can have this one big thing, there it is, it's immovable, an unstoppable force, but then he has all these other facets in his sphere of interest that just seem overly conflictual. But herein lies the problem, the underlying problem, is that this makes him, tantamount to contradiction in everything, and he can't even see it. But the thing that really pushes my buttons is how 7 out of 10 times he's breaking my balls. He's coming, he's trying to set me right. It's not like a conversational debate thing. I know he thinks that's what it is. But he's been online and he's spent too much time online in forums and going back and forth with people. What I really don't like with people like him is this know-it-all thing, is to try to fix Johnny, where he thinks I'm wrong, where he thinks something and this is another thing too. He ironically, that one big thing is up for, interpretation. But every other interaction that he seems to have is always down to literally what you said. Sometimes I write in a figurative manner, in a contemplative manner. Sometimes the words I choose them with a loose definition that can mean a couple of different things. But each and every one of those 7 out of 10 times that he's got to come and debate whatever I've said, he takes it coldly and clinically as he portends to take that big, open to interpretation thing that makes up all the, 80% of the rest of who he is. And again, this is a point of conflict and contradiction with this guy. But it's really getting on my last nerve how he's breaking my balls all the damn time. Most of the interactions I have with him are of a debate, fashion. And I've had interactions with people like this before. One of my online stalkers in my history of since, beginning my main YouTube channel, have involved somebody who was very passionately anti whatever Johnny says, and had to go out of his way, even to the point of contradicting his own former points, had to go out of his way to fuck with me, to shit on me, to take me down a peg, as he saw it. And each and every single time I called him out on his contradictions from one post to another and shit. He would, spin it around, turn it around, redirect his argument and all this kind of bullshit. And that's the one thing I will say in the favor of the guy I'm talking about in this case, is that there isn't too much of that, too much of redirecting the argument and things like that, but there's definitely missing the point. Good and plenty. But the thing of it is like, I'm tired of hearing from this guy. And because I'm a nice guy, and because, I don't like to be the asshole, or the douchebag, the douche nozzle, I have every right and every opportunity and every want to out and out block his ass and just be done with him. I'm tired of talking to him, of having interactions with him, because we just never will see eye to eye on things. And even if he raises fairly decent points on occasion, very rare, very seldom though they may be, I don't want to hear it, because I'm sick of the condescension. I'm sick of the being looked down upon. I'm sick of this high and mighty attitude, like the scholarly know-it-all who's got to put little Johnny in his place, who's got to fix little Johnny because little Johnny's got it wrong. And therein lies one of my biggest pet peeves that goes back, I might add, to a pastor at a church that my mother's boyfriend before her death was involved with and got the family involved with, somewhat reluctantly, but this guy, he's a preacher, he's a pastor, he's used to getting up in front of everyone and teaching the flock, molding and shaping the flock. And there's this inherent similarity between the way that guy was, very chip on his shoulder, very know-it-all, very talking down to, that this guy has. And it's, it's cut from similar cloth. It's in a similar vein, that one big thing that this guy has, that the pastor had. As far as that character trait. And, I've already unfollowed the guy. So I don't, 95% of the time, I don't see any of his bullshit, on social media and that kind of thing. But because I am the way I am, I don't like to be the asshole. I don't like to just shut people out unless they really push me to the nth degree. But the thing about it is with this fucking guy is he's getting there. And you know, call it pridefulness, call it ignorance, call it whatever you want. But I feel kind of like he wins in a way if I'm the one who shuts the door. But the irony in that is like a sick irony, because this is a kind of guy who's like an apologist. He makes excuses through so much of his own life that it's like second nature to him. That, you know, objectively as an outsider, you see it, you observe it, you know what it is, you call it out, and he'll tell you 6 ways to Sunday how wrong you are about it. But that's what it is. You know, excuses. Apologist excuses to accept so much of this rigmarole bullshit. And because of that, like, you know, I shut the door, I close him out entirely, and somehow I'm the fucking asshole. I prefer to have as little interaction as possible with him without completely cutting him out like a cancerous tumor. But I'm the asshole if I do, because of his whole mental framework. And some part of that offends me, because it kind of puts me in between a rock and a hard place with the way I conduct myself and carry myself and the way I view the world. Very kaleidoscopian in nature is a term that I coined to describe someone who sees all the various miraculous colors of the world and all sides of all different considerations and points of view and all that kind of stuff. I consider it all. I observe it all. I consider it all. And then I decide how to conduct myself and what I believe based on that accrued information. Mostly scientific, logical, pragmatic information. But this guy, like, he constantly, with these condescending debates, he constantly misses the point of how what I type is as much open to interpretation. What I say is as much open to interpretation as that huge fucking thing that makes up so much of his life. And yet in every interaction where he has to debate, where he has to condescend, he takes it coldly, literally, and thus misses the point. I might say a certain phrase that I mean in various different ways, but he takes it just the coldly, rigidly one way that makes the most sense to him and formulates an entire paragraphs in length post to put Johnny in his place, to fix Johnny, to look down on Johnny, to teach Johnny the right way as he sees it. And I can't deal with people like that. I had enough of it to the point where I unfollowed him on social media, but he's not gone, and he's still, you know, open to interaction with all of my shit. And it's just like that. And that's another thing. That's another thing that goes back to the guy who was the stalker. There comes a time where you beg the question, when will they take a hint? Like, I barely have interaction with you, and a few times maybe we'll say something funny back and forth and get a laugh out of each other. But all the rest of the time, you see that I'm not interacting with you. Maybe there's a reason. And when the last couple of times you came on, and you came on with this pedantic condescension, and you weren't responded to, you weren't acknowledged, maybe there's a reason. can't figure that out? You can't take the blinders off long enough to know that you're rubbing people the wrong way? I've seen this guy lament and question the heavens, you know. This person I used to talk to don't talk to me no more. That person I used to be really fast friends with doesn't seem to want anything to do with me anymore. Why is that? You know, I'm not perfect. I'm an asshole just like everybody else. Usually you treat me fair and square and nicely, you're going to get the same deal right back at you. Because I appreciate people who communicate with me and who, you know, see me on the same level as they are, because that's how I shoot from the hip. But some people, like this guy, especially people like that who have that big thing, you know, him, the pastor, it's all the same. They don't even realize when they're looking down on you, when they're being condescending. They think it's just having a conversation, just having a debate, raising some points. But the thing of it is the flavor with which this guy conducts himself whenever he interacts with me. But it's not only me, that's the thing. I've observed him doing it with other people. But of course, I am affected personally by the way he interacts with me. And that is to say, in that very condescending, looking down upon, gotta fix Johnny, gotta teach Johnny, gotta show Johnny what's the truth kind of way. And I have to figure that a lot of that comes out of the disdain and the negative opinions I hold, that he knows I hold, in that big thing that makes up so much of his life. Now, by that big thing, I could be talking about anything. I could be talking about drugs, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, smoking. In case you haven't learned by now, I consider myself a laid-back straight edge. What's the straight edge part? That's not partaking in things that are unhealthy and screw up, discombobulate your brain chemicals and your body chemicals and your health, like drugs, like alcohol, like smoking. And the laid back part comes in because usually the straight edge movement is known for its militant, hateful, you know, organized fighting against those things, you know, actual fist pummeling, fisticuffs laden, beating the hell out of people who are into that stuff. I'm not like that. Laid back is self-explanatory. You want to do that shit, that's up to you. But keep it away from me. I don't want no part in it. So I could be talking about, you know, that stuff. There are other things, not just, you know, tobacco, alcohol, drugs, and all that kind of stuff. There's religion. There are other, you know, things like people who might be wealthy and look down on the poor, condescend to the poor, you know, those less fortunate, like my sis and I. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things I could be referencing when I say that one big thing that I just don't see eye to eye with. So hopefully, if the cat in question watches this video, maybe he'll take to heart what I'm saying, but he won't actually really be sure if I'm talking about him. And that's kind of what I want, you know. I don't know, man. I'm just sick to fucking death of this guy's condescension. I'm sick to death of this chip on his shoulder, looking down upon Johnny bullshit all the time. And it's that tone with his every interaction meshed with that, you know, that conflict, that contradiction with that one big thing that takes up so much of his life, with all of his other sphere of interests, you know, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this guy says some odd, kooky, strange, fucked up shit that really exists in contrast to this one big thing, and it doesn't make fucking lick of sense to me. And most of this guy's point of view doesn't make sense to me. And then you add in the double threat to the fat reserves of this condescending tone, of this know-it-all tone, of this seeking out Johnny, seeing what Johnny's saying, and I gotta set Johnny straight. I gotta teach Johnny. I know more than Johnny. I see the world in a broader view than Johnny. Gotta tell Johnny how it really is, how the world really works. And it's that tone that's like, shut the fuck up. Step off, fuck off with your bad self, and go tell somebody who wants to hear it, because I'm done. I'm sick of your bullshit. I'm sick of your attitude. I'm sick of your coming on and constantly having to have a debate. You don't want to have a conversation. You take everything as it's going to be a debate. And the sorrowful thing is you don't even fucking know you're doing it. Because it's so ingrained in you. Because you've spent so much time online. You have spent so much time in forums, so much time on your social media, you know, with people contradicting your viewpoint, your point of view, disrespecting, whatever like that, whatever floats your boat, whatever, you know, you think you have to prove in the world. That's your whole life. So even what is supposed to be a you know, constructive conversation with somebody with a differing viewpoint that you rigidly, you know, criticize, and in a very limited tunnel vision scope think you have completely understood, because even though this big thing in your life is open to interpretation, you can't interpret the other potential interpretations of what somebody's saying when they're saying something that doesn't quite mesh with the way you look at it, the way you value it. You know, you just missed the point. And it's like, why haven't I blocked this guy? Why haven't I just fucking out and out blocked him? I don't know. He's just shy of being like Mr. Stalker, who, when I blocked him over on social media, he followed me over to YouTube, and he would not incessantly let up. This guy's not quite there. He just falls shy of that. But he's still got that condescending tone, and he's still got that fish hook in his mouth to come after Johnny whenever something Johnny says doesn't rub him the right way. And when the other 85% of the time, whatever it is, I don't have interaction with him, he doesn't get the hint. It doesn't occur to him to question it. Why is that? Maybe it's something about me. Maybe it's something about the way I conduct myself, the way I converse with Johnny. I don't know. I'm somebody who, you know, through just experience in life, loss, humility, being downtrodden, being, you know, lower middle class when my parents were alive, and then falling short of that, under the rungs of the stairs, you know, in poverty and everything like that. Like, I don't know, man. It doesn't occur to me to look down on anybody. I mean, there are times where I have interactions where I talk to somebody, and because I feel like I've worked out a situation in my brain and I've put some effort into it and some work into it, Maybe I come across that way, but if I do, I mean, I try my solemn best never to have somebody feel like I'm looking down on them, even if we disagree, unless they're being a pedantic asshole on purpose, or their viewpoint is completely just, you know, abnormal. Any conversation I have with somebody tends to end in a genial, friendly fashion, even if we completely disagree. But there are some of these characters, like this guy with this big thing, where we just don't see eye to eye. And it recurs and recurs and recurs. And because of my ignorant dumbass, I just haven't blocked him outright, when I probably should have a long time ago. I probably still should right this minute. Don't know why I don't. Don't know why I haven't. All I know is I'm sick of this motherfucker. And it's gonna happen. One of these days, it's gonna be one button press too many, and I'm just gonna be like, silence is golden. Silence will have fallen on this motherfucker. And the next post is gonna be, well, damn. What did I do to Johnny? Why'd Johnny block me? I liked Johnny. I liked conversing with Johnny. Yeah, you liked looking down on Johnny is what you liked. Johnny didn't like that, though. Know what I'm saying?